I know buying an E46 M3 doesn't really seem like an easy thing right now, aside from them being kind of expensive, but also just finding one can be a little difficult. Sometimes people message me asking me like, yo, where do you even find these? Like, I can't never find them for sale. And if they are for sale, it's always like a convertible or SMG. It's always a spec that you don't want or something that's a lot more common. And normally you can always find them for sale at dealerships all around the country. The problem with buying from a dealership is that you never know who the heck used to own the car. You don't know anything about the car, and you just have to take the dealer's word for whatever he says about it. You can't just ask the previous owner, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about the car? That's just, all of that is gone. And when you're buying an E46 M3, that's not something you want to deal with. So in today's video, I'm pretty much going to be showing you how to buy an E46 M3. Some of the things I'm going to point out in this video are actually good, useful tips that can be used on buying any kind of car, honestly. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hoodie inside in the summer, my room is freezing. For some reason, my room has 3 vents and the AC just gets freaking freezing in here. But anyway, let's do this. So how do you know the E46 you're trying to buy is a good buy and you're able to filter out which ones are good and which ones aren't just by looking at them and just by using some common sense? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 3 things that you should really be prioritizing when looking for an E46 M3. I'm definitely not going to be sitting here talking about the big 3. I feel like everybody knows about it. If you don't know what the big 3 is, feel free to comment down below and I will definitely make a video for you and it'll be a lot more informative. But the big 3 is pretty much a very known thing when it comes to buying an E46 M3. So if you are or have been in the market for one, you probably already know what it is. I'm not going to talk too much about that in this video. So I'm essentially going to talk about 3 things that you should be prioritizing when looking for one of these. A huge sign in telling whether or not you're getting a good car is considering what platform you're using. So number 1 is going to be the platform. The best platform in my opinion that I've looked at so far is Facebook groups. Not marketplace, Facebook groups. There is an E46 M3 classifieds group on Facebook that you can join. I will leave a link down below in the description if you are interested to go and look at all the E46 M3s for sale in the country right now. There's also BAT, which is bring a trailer. That's normally for people that are looking to get a nice, really nice example with low miles on the E46 M3. If you're not looking to do that, don't go on bring a trailer, but there are sometimes good deals on bring a trailer as well. Really cool website. If you guys haven't heard about it, it's essentially you, as a seller, if I want to put my E46 M3 up for sale, I just put it on that website and it gets bid on for like I think a week, and then you set a reserve on the car and then people start bidding on it, etc. It's a really good way to get exposure for your car because like a lot of enthusiasts use it. So bring a trailer is essentially the middleman between you and the seller. Once the website puts you in contact with the seller, you just talk to them and you work it out exactly how you want to get the car anyway. There's also Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids, which is a really sweet website that's good for kind of all kinds of cars, and there's a lot of bidding going on there too, just like bring a trailer. Another good one is M3 List, created by Spencer Burke. It's on Instagram. Feel free to check out their Instagram right here on the bottom of the screen, and basically that page is a list of a bunch of M3s for sale, hence the name M3 List. It's really neat. It's super popular now. It like popped off like immediately as soon as he created it. It was really cool to see how quickly it grew, and it's a great alternative, or it's a great way to put your car for sale, your M3 for sale, and check out things that people say about it in the comments, but also the description will have all the things that you need to know about the car, including the seller's contact information, phone number, etc. So that's a really neat place to put your car up for sale, and that's a really good, really good place to try to find and buy a car. And last on this list, I would say, is Facebook Marketplace. The reason why I put Facebook Marketplace last is because I've seen some super half-ass ads on Facebook Marketplace for E46 M3s. And 90% of the time, it's owners that really don't know much about the car, aren't super enthusiastic about it. Like, I know what you're thinking. How do you buy an E46 M3 and you're not an enthusiast about it? There's actually like levels to it where like there's people who own E46 M3s that have no idea what the big 3 is. They just know like rod bearings was a recall service and that's it, but they don't even know what the big 3 are. To me, me personally, like if I was talking to someone and I'm trying to buy an E46 M3 from the owner and he doesn't know what the big 3 are, I'm gonna run as far away as I can from that car. But still, you should still use all the platforms I just mentioned because you want to increase the amount of E46 M3s coming your way that could be a potential buy for you. And I need to stress this ad thing kind of intensely. A good sign that a car is a good car is the sale ad. A car is only as good as its owner. If the owner seems like a smart, detail-oriented / meticulous person when you're dealing with them, more than likely it's safe to assume that's probably how they kept the car. And a big telling sign about a sale ad is how much time and energy that the person who's selling the car and making the ad put into the description, the photos. The photos is a huge one because they can't just take photos from the outside and a little bit of the inside. If you have someone who's taking pictures of the car like from the outside from every angle, and they're taking pictures of little blemishes too, and they're sending you pictures of the motor, and they're sending you pictures from underneath and the jacking points and stuff, and from the subframe, it sounds like a pretty honest car and an honest seller. Now, this next topic is a huge one that I can't stress anymore. Like, this is huge. This is honestly, for me, so important. And this one, like I said in the beginning of the video, some of these points can apply to all cars, not just E46 M3s. This one applies to all cars. Like, I don't care if you're not buying an M3, you should keep this in your mind because it is true and it is important. It does dictate the value of a car. And what is that point? Location. Location is so important when buying any car, but especially cars like this. To be honest, the location tells you just as much about the car as the owner does. So ideally, you want a car from the south, where it does not snow, where there's a lot more space, and where most people have garages or at least apartment complexes that have nice parking, that it's a little private and not on the street. 90% of the time, you do not want a car from like a northern city, like an urban northern city, especially ones from the Northeast, like New York, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, etc. And let me explain why. And by the way, I'm from New York City, so I know this good and well. The cities I just mentioned, and some others like it in the Northeast, are pretty tight and not very spacious. So what that means is that the homes over there are designed in a very like slim, like really cramped type style because they don't have a lot of space. Like New York City, I'm sure any of you that are watching this in Brooklyn and Queens, even in Manhattan, especially Manhattan, that's the city, but let's just talk about the boroughs. These apartment complexes, or these, not complexes, but these apartment buildings or houses, single family homes, whatever, it doesn't matter. You'll be lucky if you find someone who has a driveway. You'll be lucky if you have an apartment that has a room that's larger than the size of a closet. So there's a very good chance that the owner of that E46 M3 doesn't have a driveway or a garage. Most people in New York City don't have one. And I don't mean to say this just talking about New York. I know cities that are similar to the 5 boroughs of New York City. It's the same thing. Not everybody in Chicago has a garage. It's kind of hard to have a space there because it's so tight there as well. Now, please don't respond to me telling me, oh, I live like an hour outside of Chicago, I have this, down there. That's different. You're not really in the city. I'm talking about like city. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's always the case. There's a chance that someone who lives in like New York City has a garage and has the space for this type of stuff. But from my experience from living there and from what I've seen, that's normally not the case. That's a lot more rare than you think it is. Hell, it's a flex in New York to have a laundry machine, like a washer and a dryer, instead of dragging your ass to a laundromat. So if a guy doesn't have a garage and he's not renting a spot, doesn't have a driveway, we all know what that means. The car gets parked on the street, and we all know what parking on the street means. Chipped bumpers, front and back, random door dings from really small supermarket parking lot, random scratches, the car getting broken into, and in highly populated cities, vandalism or someone keying your car just out of jealousy. And if you think that's it, no. Not only is parking in the city bad for your car, but so is city driving. Highway miles are a thing, guys. City driving has like 2 times the wear on a car than highway driving does. And for good reason. City driving is so much more wear and tear. It's so much more stop and go. Cities are also highly populated, so that increases the chances of an accident. And I bet you didn't think of this. Since insurance is higher in these cities, some people actually drive uninsured. So hit and runs happen a lot more than you think. And someone who's had or done a hit and run to someone would just pay out of pocket to fix their car, get it fixed, and have nothing come up on a Carfax report of the car being in an accident. That's kind of alarming. That's not a good look. Just because the guy you're trying to buy the car from has an E46 M3 and he seems like a great dude, he's still a stranger at the end of the day. You don't know what he's done in the past with that car. You don't know what kind of person he is. Some people have a weird way of living and they want to do things like that, or they're okay with doing things like that. Some people aren't. So you can't just trust strangers on the internet. And I'm sure I don't have to tell a lot of you this, but roads in cities are, let's just say 80% of the time, they are not good. I don't know what cities be doing with tax money, but it does not go to the roads. And if it does, they just do like a 2-week fix and then the potholes come back. I don't know why. So since there's potholes everywhere and new ones that just come out like new episodes of some show that you love to watch, that means more wear and tear on your shocks, on your suspension, which is basically your shocks, your control arms, just everything, your brakes, because you're stopping and going so much. Like, city driving just has so much more wear and tear on the car. And another reason why you don't want to deal with the Northeast, or just the North in general, is snow. I'm not sure how many of you know why this is a bad thing. It's kind of a given, but I will quickly do a quick 30-second rundown why. It snows. Cities put salt on the road to help with traction when the roads are icy or still have some snow or slush, whatever. The problem with that is that the salt can cause rust because of the chemical reactions it creates, and that very much can corrode your car. So yeah, avoid areas where it snows a lot and salt is put down, because chances are the car will be rusted to shit from underneath. Now, just because I made all these valid points about cars from the Northeast or the North being risky to buy from, that obviously does not mean that all cars from the North are bad. There are good cars out there owned by people who take the time, effort, and energy to take care of them. It's just rare. Like, you literally have to put faith in a complete stranger that they avoided all these obstacles of having and maintaining a car nicely in these cities. Now that we've talked about the states and you know, areas you don't or want to avoid. Now let's talk about states that you do want to buy from. California, which is kind of hit or miss. Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, New Mexico, even Colorado. Basically states/cities that are a lot more open. Everyone and their mom in this state has a garage, and you kind of have to take highways everywhere to do something. And if they don't have a garage, at least more than likely they'll have a driveway. And we all know parking on the street versus parking in a driveway, which one's worse. But everything that has positives has negatives, and southern states have a couple. One negative about more southern state cars is that some of them can suffer from clear coat fading and peeling, and finding one that has been kept in a garage is ideal for that. But you're more than likely not gonna see that from cars like from the north and stuff, because I don't know, the sun just doesn't hit the same. I'm sure there's one theme you guys are noticing here that I'm trying to talk about, and it's clearly that I'm pushing for buying from states that are not as densely populated and are more spacious. And the last thing I do want to talk about is service records, maintenance, receipts, etc. You absolutely want to buy an E46 M3 that has service receipts from reputable shops. The cool thing about that is you can even call these reputable shops and ask them about the car if they know or remember it or know anything about it. If you can get anything, any information out of it, that is always super clutch whenever they do answer and they can remember it. Sometimes if you have the VIN of the car already, you could just give them that and they can look it up in their system. It's just so much about if the shop owners or the employees that work at that shop are willing to help you over the phone like that. But hey, you could always go in person and bother them in person. That's like what I do at NRP. Now you're probably wondering, what if you buy from someone who's a mechanic or someone who just does a lot of DIYs and does everything themselves? Real simple, just ask them for receipts of the parts they bought. And if you've gotten to that conversation with that person enough where they're sending you receipts and you can see their name and address, make sure it matches up with the Facebook profile or whatever name they're telling you who they are. And on top of that, ask for pictures of those parts being put into that car, because what if he had you're trying to look at a white E46 M3 and years ago or a little while before that, he used to have an E46 M3 that's black, but he put all these receipts of these parts into that black car and he's selling you this white car. You don't want to get finessed like that. I know that's kind of like not a very common thing, but you want to try and exhaust all of your options and get information out of this previous owner as you can, because all that does is help you make sure that you get a good deal, and more importantly, a good car. Also make sure that the cooling system has been serviced and little things like that. But obviously, if I need to talk about what you need to look out for when buying E46 M3, that'll be a separate video. But a huge one I will mention is make sure that they've done the oil changes at the right intervals and they put the right oil in that S54. So overall, to recap and summarize what we talked about in this video and to conclude, we talked about three things: the platform that you're using to help yourself buy a good E46 M3, aka, you know, E46 M3 groups on Facebook, Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Instagram, aka M3 List. The list essentially goes on. You can even check Craigslist. Who knows? You know, what if someone who just doesn't know about Facebook groups and Marketplace are on Craigslist still, and they are very much inclined mechanically on working on BMWs and especially S54s? You never know. So that's why I said exhaust all your options when it comes to platforms, so then you have the highest amount of M3s coming your way through your scanner. You know, you get what I'm saying? You have a larger pool to find the car you're looking for. Then number two would obviously be the location. I'd honestly put that as number one if we're putting it in order. Location, platform, no. Location, service receipts, platform. This video, again, is not about what you need to look out. It's about how to make sure you buy a good E46 M3, because there's already a bunch of buyer's guides on YouTube about this topic, and I didn't want to overstep those videos because they're pretty good and they're very informative. But again, at the end of the day, it all comes down to fate. Whatever you can find and whatever you end up getting, hopefully you get a good car and a car that you're going to enjoy very much, because I promise you these cars are fantastic and they are not sought after for no reason. That S54 is honestly orgasmic and it is addictive, and I can't stop driving it, and I'm trying to stop driving it because I'm not trying to get the mileage to climb crazy high. But you know what? I should really just go for a drive right now. Shouldn't I? I don't know. But if you guys do have any more questions or want me to make more videos like this on this car or even the E36, let me know down below, because I can only know what you guys want to see if you comment. So please let me know down below. But anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Peace out.